Hi, my name's Corey Doran.
Awesome Clinic by Corey Doran.
Are you breaking things down early enough to exercise certain skill sets? Remember to get out of those habitual stopping point to exercise certain skill sets early enough to make sure that you have the tools to do it.
All those concepts, as you could see in Corey's clinic, they're perfectly transferable to any time that you're going to learn any etude for any situation, right?
I'm here to talk about how to break down a solo and ensemble snare drum etude. I want to thank my sponsors, Innovative Percussion, Sabian Cymbals, Mapex Drums, and Majestic Percussion.
Joe Hobbs here. I'm the director of percussion at Vandergrift High School, also on the percussion staff at the Bluecoats, drum and bugle corps. Are going to talk about what's on everybody's mind right now, which is band camp. Hello, Joe Hobbs here. I'm the director of percussion at Vandergrift High School, also on the percussion staff at the Bluecoats, drum and bugle corps. Just want to touch base with you guys. We are going to have a live session. Myself and Gilbert Garcia are going to talk about what's on everybody's mind right now, which is band camp. And we're going to talk about ways to approach that week, some scheduling things, kind of how to work from skill set to skill set, and then applying that into your show music, just to break down some things that I feel like I've learned over the years that can help you guys out with your upcoming weeks of rehearsal. So please join us. Can't wait to see you guys again. It's Tuesday at 7. We'll see you there.
Hello, guys. It is my hope that you guys have had a great initiation, a great start to your week. A lot of us are starting our band camps. Some of us are starting our actual drum camps, right? Usually we do some of those full band camp, right? So I really hope, guys, that everything is marching smooth. Yes, our kids are a little bit on the rusty side for the majority of them, right? But they will catch on, guys. They will catch on. And with you in front of them, you and your kids are going to do some amazing, amazing things this year. Yes, we are. Guys, if you haven't caught any of our clinics that we did last week, you should check them out. Sherry Rubens did 2 of them last week and the week before, where she released to the public the Texas All-State Etudes. This past week was the snare and the timpani. Previous Saturday, she did the 2 and the 4 mallets, and you can find them on G Drum's YouTube channel. You'll find them there, and you'll find them also at the Valley Percussion Festival page. So please go there. One clinic that really blew my mind, guys, and everybody that has watched it has made a point to message me and go, wow. It was mind-blowing. And that's Eric Martin's sight reading skills. You need to check that one out. You should actually play it for your students or make them watch it and do a small review of it. I promise you, you will not regret it. Guys, following along with the Texas All-State edition, we will be having some more clinics that will be addressing that. But we are also, guys, concerned with all the other activities, and to help us kick off the this segment or this portion of it, right? Today's guest, wow, what a way to kick it off. I mean, this gentleman has done it at a very high level with his high school program, which is Vandergrift High School, and he's done it in the drum corps arena. He has been working with the Bluecoats Drum and Bugle Corps, and his topic is pretty much how to band camp successfully. And without further ado, the guest of honor today, Mr. Joe Hobbs. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Gilbert, how are you doing, man?
Doing great, doing great. So excited and stoked to have you here, man. It's long overdue. Yes, it is.
Thanks for having me, man. And yeah, long days of band camp. So anybody that's on here after teaching a full day of band camp, thank you. Honored. I know you're tired. You want to sit on the couch and do nothing. So thanks for being here today. And hopefully we can talk about a few things that will hopefully help your program going the rest of the season.
Yes. Joe, how was if you could just give us a little snippet of how was it for you with the Bluecoats on tour?
It was awesome. You know, I definitely called home to my wife a couple times and said I just didn't realize how much I missed it.
Yes.
Just loved doing it. Loved being there. Loved running around with the guys. And just, it was fantastic. Those members are just work incredibly hard. It's just an honor to stand in front of those guys. The percussion staff is fantastic. Roger Carter's still there, kind of heading everything up. Tom Rarick's still writing. And I think we treated the season like it's a normal season. It's not a COVID group, if you will. I think those guys are playing their butts off. I think everyone that goes to Indy in August is going to be really impressed, or hopefully really impressed. But I thought they were fantastic to work with, and I'm super proud of those guys and all the work they've done.
Nice. Now, to some people, you know, the COVID thing is of concern, or is in their mind. And I know the Bluecoats are doing a phenomenal job of taking care of their group. Can you give us a little bit of that scoop so that the people can see how it's being taken care of?
Yeah, I mean, I could say when I flew in, I got there early July, so I got into the first half of the season this year. As soon as I got off the plane, I got picked up. I got taken to a medical station. Didn't see any of the members, any of the other staff. Got taken directly to the medical area. Had a rapid test, so they know that I was negative before I even started seeing any of the members or other staff members. Once that was cleared and I was, permitted and I was good, no positive test, which was good. Went taught, and then what they were doing was they tested every single person that's in the Bluecoats when they first arrived. And they were doing every other person. I think they waited 10 days, I believe, and they tested everyone again. And then from there, they were doing just kind of random tests throughout each section. So they're monitored every single week.
Yes.
That medical team is fantastic. Just works super hard in terms of testing, just taking care of the members. So it's kind of a bubble. They've done their best to kind of create a bubble. When we would go eat, we wore masks. We're using the university we're staying at, their cafeteria. So everyone was masked up as we entered, until we started eating our food. So I think the Bluecoats, I know I'm biased, but have done just an amazing job in terms of trying to keep the students safe so we can have a season and do what we love to do. So
yes, beautiful. Well, Joe, people are here to learn from you, man. Can you give us a little summary, a little glimpse of what you will cover during the next minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I'm going to talk about three major things. I want to talk about scheduling first and just how to kind of break down your week. And I think that's something that I feel like we've done well at. Still working on it, still trying to improve it, obviously. But in terms of the introduction of skill sets and then how we kind of move from skill set to skill set and then how we apply that into show music. So I want to talk about that first. And then talking about how to kind of do the macro goal, if you will, like setting goals for yourself. A micro goal, maybe that's your daily goal, maybe that's your block goal, but then also kind of looking at the entire season and kind of what you maybe should be trying to shoot for throughout whether it's 3 weeks. I know for us at Vandy, we have a week of drum camp and then 2 full weeks of band camp. So I know for us, we have a very specific goal that we're going for in those 3 weeks total, and talking about like kind of what to think about in terms of, like I said, your holistic goal for your season. And the other thing I want to talk about is just how we do the technique stuff. Kind of some approaches that we do, like when we break down our upstroke on Monday at band camp, what that looks like for us, how we do that, how tedious it can be. But again, I think most educators have done this for a long time, feel the same way. Like I always find that if I skip a step, if I'm like, man, I think we got this, I'm not gonna do it this year, and I skip it, I always look back, in October, November, and say, man, that we should have done that. What were we thinking?
Yes.
So just kind of going through those things real quickly. Just talking once again how we break down downstrokes, upstrokes, rolls, Flam vocabulary, and it's kind of once again I'll do a little micro lesson on all that stuff because that could take forever. Obviously, you could do a whole webinar on just one of those. So I'll try to go kind of quickly. But once again, scheduling and technique breakdowns are kind of my big 2 things for today.
Nice. Well, what do you say, Joe, if we get into the nuts and bolts and we get started, man?
Sounds good. Let's go.
Awesome. I'm going to exit stage left. It is all yours, brother.
Awesome. All right, here we go. I'm going to go fairly quickly because once again, I feel like I have a lot of information I want to just get out there. So when this is done, if anyone wants to reach out to me whenever we're done, I'm happy to answer emails, text, phone calls, and go kind of farther into that stuff. But again, I'm going to try to move fairly quickly so I can kind of cover all of this material. First thing we're going to do, let's do this. I want to talk about just scheduling. Let's start scheduling, then we'll go into the technique stuff. In terms of the scheduling, again, I'm just going to say this. Each day to me kind of has a theme. So we finished our drum camp last week, and we went Monday through Friday, and then this Monday started our full band camp. And our schedule kind of changes when the full band comes in. We do some visual, and then we do some music. But during drum camp, man, we just crank out music and technique, and that's kind of our main goal. So let's talk about the days. Each day is going to have a theme or a skill set. And what we do on Monday, regardless of any year, I don't care if it's 9 snare vets or 1 snare vet, we do this the same every single time. We break down upstrokes or rebound strokes on day 1. And what I might do, actually, I'm thinking about it. I'll do the day, and then we'll do the skill set and go to the next day after that. So I'll kind of break down each one. So Monday morning, our goal is, and I'm going to do mainly battery stuff. That's kind of more what I focus on during our camp. So it's kind of my talk. If you have any questions for front ensemble stuff, I can answer later. But I'm going to kind of make this mostly about the battery. Rebound stroke, what we do every single time. And I've got a pad and stick, so you might not be able to see it. If you can't, I can kind of lower my screen a little bit or raise the pad. Let's raise the pad to start. And what we're going to start with is everything in an upstroke position. Meaning I'm going to have the students start here. We're going to put the metronome on probably 100. And all we're going to do is practice rebounding back up to the upstroke and getting the velocity that it takes to do that. That's step 1. I got to have a student be able to upstroke and understand what that feels like in order for us to be able to play 8s correctly. So we start here, and it's about a 2 to 3 hour process as we go through this. We'll start with the whole note, 3, 4, and then we'll eventually progress into half notes, to the quarter, until we gradually use the metronome. What I will typically do is we'll do that, and I will gradually turn the metronome up until it turns into about 100 BPM for 8s. Again, as we do this, we need to think about, 1, we're not breaking down 8s at 90. We're breaking down 8s at 160. So when I play fast 8s, that's the same speed of stroke as when I play my whole note. So it's very important that students understand that we are not breaking down 90 BPM 8s, which we'll never play. We're breaking down the actual skill set at 160 or 170. So this idea, okay? Secondly, it's all about the velocity and consistency of the stroke. And what we're checking on, we work on these students is, does it look and sound the same every single time? We also don't want that wiggle. We want it to hit the pad and come right back up and freeze right there. Another quick tool that we kind of use is if you take your stick and put it behind that, you want to hear a 16th note rhythm on the upstroke. If you hear a student playing a triplet, that means the upstroke or the downstroke, that means the velocity is not quick enough and the stick is not rebounding fast enough to get a 16th note rhythm. Cool? So that's Monday. I know I'm going really fast, but that's Monday for us. It is all about the rebound stroke. Once we do that at Celerano, we can get that faster. We get into that, say, that 100 or 120 BPM for 8s. We'll obviously put the hand back down. And then we'll still check in, does that rebound stroke look the way that we want it to look? There's a lot of things that we do, like our technique, where, we talk about how much wrist to arm we're doing. We like to go 90% wrist and about 10% arm. That's us. Those are all kind of up to you, however you want to structure your hands, whatever angle you want to play at, wherever you want your right arm at. We go through all those things too, obviously. And those are part of our checklist as we're doing that quick rebound stroke. But I'm going to skip those details because I know every group has different nuances that they like to do with that. But for us, we have to leave Monday morning feeling like we have 8 on a hand figured out. And when I say figured out, I mean the stroke type and the consistency of the stroke. For bass drums, in the past, some camps we have somebody working with them, and they'll kind of take them and start working on their own individual things. For me, it's learning how to play 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. That's not all on day one, but that to me is the biggest thing. If a person could come out, or a bass drummer could come out and can knock that out and play 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, they could probably play most of their show music. If the bass drums are with us, it's super important, again, that a bass drummer understands what to do with the stick as well, with the mallet. So when they play, we want them to understand what a rebound stroke feels like. So they'll go through that same process for us. When we do downstrokes, we'll get to it in a second, same thing. The bass drums, if they're in there with us, we're going to be working that same skill set. And what we'll do typically is have them play, the bass drums play what we call a B-flat split. We'll start unison, what they just do off the head, obviously. The B-flat split to me is just going down and up the drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And working that split, which is going to be a basic 8 split, would be obviously 8 until we get faster. But kind of working, again, the same stroke types that we use, obviously, with the snares and the tenors. So that's huge. So day one, again, just going through this, day one, Monday morning is rebound. Can we play 8s correctly? And the reason that is maybe the most crucial day of the week is because that wrist turn and that feel and that sound quality is what we're going to use as our barometer for the rest of the week. So when we go to downstrokes the next day, the wrist turn and the arm motion should be the same. I want those the same on those big full notes. So again, that day one is so crucial. In terms of music, what we're typically doing is we're trying to get maybe 20 to 30 bars a day is kind of our goal on Monday. The students have probably had the opener the longest. We typically will start with the opener. That's what we're going to march and play first. We'll start learning drill on August 1st. But we typically do that in the afternoon. So our Monday looks like this. Technique, just mainly focusing on the upstroke and the rebound stroke. That's really it. And then trying to get into some show music. Obviously, the show music is going to have some skill sets we haven't hit yet. That's okay in my mind. And I understand. I know it might be a little bit weird to say that, but I want to take this time to get the skill sets right because I really feel like if I do that, the show music is going to take care of itself down the road. Okay? That's Monday. I probably got to move faster. We're going to go through all these days of the week. That's Monday. Tuesday is downstrokes. Again, it's really important that the student understands when you go from day to day, the skill sets do relate to one another. So when I'm working this, I'm getting that rebound stroke, that's my forte or my fortissimo. That's the same wrist turn, the same sound I want when I get the downstroke. Also, the mechanics are going to be the same. Again, we use 90% wrist, 10% arm on our full stroke. When I play the downstroke, I want that same thing. So it's important that the student, once again, mirrors that wrist turn that they had on legatos into day 2 or Tuesday morning when we're doing the downstroke. When we do the downstroke, we do it the same way we do the upstroke, start super slow. I typically play this quarter notes, and I'll do one note, and then I will do the tap after that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The idea being that we get that downstroke figured out, and then I re-articulate the tap with my wrist, just my wrist. So that arm motion we talked about on the accent, that 10%, doesn't apply to the tap. I want them to be separate strokes. That's my personal preference. That's the technique that we like to use. So again, getting the downstroke, playing it slowly, this speed. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Gradually bumping the tempo. Something else to think about as we're doing this is give the information, give them a lot of information early on, and then give them repetition. I think I can't say that enough. I feel like too early or too often I see teachers go in and they're saying great things. Don't get me wrong. They're giving great information to the students, but they're talking a lot and they're not playing enough. Give the information, the broad strokes of what you want to be happening, and then get the reps. we do the upstrokes and the downstrokes, literally we're probably playing straight for about 30 to 45 minutes, and the metronome is on and it's going. Then I gradually bump it up. In terms of instruction, I'm going individual to individual and giving them feedback. And what I'll typically do is I'll walk up and have them stop playing for a second. The rest of the group keeps going, and then I'm giving them individual feedback on what they're doing well, what they need to improve upon. Okay, but in terms of repetition and doing it over and over again, that's so crucial early on. Yes, give the information. I'm not saying don't teach them. You got to teach them, but make sure they're getting plenty of repetition so they're building the muscle memory, which is the whole goal, is lots of reps so you're building muscle memory to set up the next few weeks. Cool? Tuesday, downstrokes, accent tap over and over and over again. Then we'll kind of transition into our accent tap exercise, which has a lot of variations in it. It's a combination of 3-note groupings, accent 2 taps, bucks, 4-note groupings, accent 3 taps, and then also some crescendos in there at the very end. Also some double accent 1 tap. Cool. And that's just, once again, our exercise tries to cover all of those skill sets that you're going to see in show music. But once again, breaking it down super slow, then gradually working into the actual exercise. Tuesday afternoon, again, trying to add 20 to 30 more measures. Our goal in week 1 from a music standpoint is for the full ensemble to play the opener. Depending on how your show's structured, you can break that up, but for us, it's always to be able to play at least that first movement. Wednesday, we move on. And the next skill set to me is getting high accent to low double. And notice that I said double, not diddle, which is the paradiddle skill set, or paradiddle diddles. Every drum book in America has tons of these guys. Or paradiddle diddles. So it's working that skill set, with a better camera angle, where you're stopping the stick, you're getting your downstroke that you worked on Tuesday, and then articulating 2 notes, a double, not a diddle. When I say double, I think of a double being a 16th note rhythm. This guy, like a paradiddle, and a diddle being more like a pinch, like a 32nd note. That skill set's for a different day. So Wednesday is high accent down to a low double, breaking out paradiddles and paradiddle diddles. And again, we're starting super slow. And what you're trying to get the students to be able to understand is when they play that accent, they have to stop the stick just like they did on Tuesday. And that's the dot you're trying to connect. Is you're getting the same sound on your downstroke that you had on Monday with your full rebound 8s. And then on Wednesday, are you stopping the stick before you play your double the same way you were on Tuesday? Again, just going day to day and then kind of structuring that. Wednesday afternoon, again, 20 to 30 more bars of music. Okay, so far, Monday upstroke, Tuesday downstroke, Wednesday is accent to low double, which I think is one of the hardest things for high school students to do. So take your time on that. Thursday, we're moving on to rolls. We do like a tap roll exercise. That is when we start working on that high accent to low diddle. The first thing we start working on is what I call it chops galore. It's definitely stolen from another teacher. Shane Gwaltney had this version or an exercise called man chops that Music City Mystique played for a long time. Choctahatchee High School played. When I taught with Shane at Spirit and Phantom, we used it almost every single day. And it's just a 16th note grid. And all you're going to do is you're going to add, you start with everything buzzed. 2 bars of each. To the and, to the Second pattern is checked. Third pattern is tap drags. Third pattern is all roll. Third pattern is everything is diddled, even the accent. Okay? It's going to be rough, and you're going to go pattern by pattern. What you're working on is getting that student to understand how to stop the stick and also just how to create a diddle. To me, it's easier for a student to understand the pinch of a 32nd note than it is the 24th note or triplet roll exercise. Secondly, this really does build chops. And you don't have to do something this complex. I used to use 3 camps for a long time. I mean, everybody kind of knows that one. That's the... Do all buzz, do accent tubas. But whatever your fancy is, you have to have, in my opinion, you have to have a roll exercise that chops at your students in your warm-up packet, and you got to be doing it early on. I always use the analogy, like if you gave me all the examples and all the greatest information on how to dunk a basketball, I still would not be able to dunk a basketball because the muscles in my legs are not developed enough to dunk a basketball. Same thing with students. If they don't have muscles built in their hands to play rolls and the chops they've worked on, no matter what you say to that student, they're not going to play the roll with the person next to them. So you have to have some part of your exercise program where you're chopping them out. I've heard another one called Pyramid of Pain, where you just literally add accents throughout, all the way through how many bars you're doing it. So you go, now it's going to be 2 bars, check, 4 bars, or 3 bars, sorry. Check, 4 bar, up to 7, up to 8. So you can make it as simple as you want to make it, but there's got to be something in it that's building muscle and building chops. Okay, so that's on Thursday. We go from there, and we do the skill sets typically on the same day. We do our chop building exercise, which for us is that 16th note based grid where we add buzzes, diddles, tap drags, tap rolls. And then we go into what our Smith roll and our tap 5 builder. Smith rolls is a pretty standard roll exercise. We have 2 beats a check, or 2 bars a check, 2 bars of right diddle, 2 bars of check, 2 bars of left diddle, 2 bars of check, tap roll. Smith or tap 5 builder is exactly what it sounds like. We play 4 beats a check, and then 1 accent, 2 accents, and we build that up, and then we eventually make those tap drags and tap 5s. I like to work 2 height roll patterns before I get into 1 height roll patterns. Meaning if a student, I feel like if a student can play tap 5s, you get through this guy, then playing this will feel easier and more open. So trying to push their chops as much as we can as we work these skill sets, so that when they play the roll, it feels easier for them. Pushing the chops a little farther than they have to go, so when they come back to it, they're ready to go and can do all that stuff. That was Thursday. Friday, we are working flams. We always start with Flam accent builder. We use the old Blue Devils one, this guy. And then kind of works through all that. And then we use Mission or BD Flams, old Tom Float guy. After that, and that's kind of our Flam real quick. But that is Friday. I know I've gone really fast. I'm going to recap that real quick. Take my chair real quick. I'm going to recap that real quickly. Monday, legatos. Tuesday, downstrokes, which works accent tap. Wednesday, high accent, low double. Paradiddles, paradiddle-diddles. Thursday is roll chops, starting out with a choppy exercise, whatever you want to do. And working again that high accent to low diddle, which you're going to get when you play a tap roll. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. I'm going to go back and adjust the screen. There we go. Cool. Now I just can't see my face. That's the only issue. I'm going to do this. We're going to move back and forth. Thursday was roll patterns. And then Friday, again, was introducing Flam vocabulary. Again, our goal at the end of that first week is to be able to play our opener. I know for us this past week, we also kind of worked our drum solo in part 4, which is like a 40-bar window. So we finished week 1 playing with the front ensemble. Our opener and our drum solo was kind of our goal. Let's see, a few more things to talk about with this. Our goal in terms of scheduling for the entire band camp is to play our entire show. And that's kind of like that every single year. Or at least the version that we're going to use for our first competition. For us, we do what's called Dripping Springs Drumline Contest, which if you're not from Texas, Texas has this thing where we do standstill drumline contests. That's the first thing we do every year. It's usually mid to late September. I know for us this year, we'll probably cut a chunk out of our closer that doesn't really have a whole lot of percussion in it. And our goal by the end of our band camp, which is not this week, but the end of next week, is to play everything we're going to do for that. And it might be under tempo, which is fine. We're notorious for staying 20 to 30 clicks under for a long period of time. I think it's crucial that you're getting at least readability. Might not be perfect, especially if you have really young students, but the readability is strong. I'd rather have a readable opener, 20 clicks under, than an unreadable opener at tempo. And that's kind of always been the way we do that. So our macro goal in terms of learning and scheduling is to play the entire show. That's really what I have in terms of scheduling stuff. We can kind of go into a few more technique things here in a second. Any quick questions regarding, I'm gonna look in the chat. I'm not sure who all's on with us. Any quick questions in terms of the scheduling and how we kind of piece our days together? I think that's one of the most crucial things in this, is understanding how to move from day to day and how to connect skill set to skill set. I'll give it like 5 seconds. Go ahead, Gilbert. I can't hear you, Gilbert. I'm sorry.
I don't see any questions in the feed, but as soon as they pop up, I will definitely make you aware of them.
Awesome. Cool. Let's go back into some skill set stuff real quick. So that's the scheduling thing, which I think is super, super important. Talked about reps. Obviously, we talked about this. What's going to happen throughout the week is it's going to be a little bit more difficult each single day. And I'm kind of going through this. I've got some newer snare drummers this year. And I kind of have to remind myself almost every single day that they're not going to get it right away. For me, what tells me I can move on to the next skill set is if I've seen that student show the skill, at least at a slow tempo. The one that we struggle on the most is still high accent and low double paradiddle stuff. So I'm gonna change the camera real quick. So I've got a few students that are still struggling with this, and we're playing just this guy, just working 4 paradiddles. What we're trying to not see, I think what our students are struggling with right now is what I call the wiggle, meaning that when I play that paradiddle, I see the stick bounce back up and wiggle before it comes back down. It looks like this when it's played with the wiggle, which is a pretty common tendency for most younger students. What causes that? And we're talking about this with the kids all the time. Is it all what causes that is simply your back fingers are too open. If I use just my back fingers to play that, that's going to stop the stick. So a couple quick tricks to help with that. Have them play without the front finger on at all. What that's going to make them do is put their back fingers on the stick. Because if that's not on, nothing's holding the stick. So that's one way to kind of work with that. The second thing is working some tap buzzes. Playing this guy. Working through that. What the tap buzz does, which I like about that, is it makes you stop the stick and re-articulate a note right after that versus this guy. Okay? So that's what we're still struggling with. I had a student email me literally last night and say, Mr. Hobbs, I keep popping my fingers off. What do I do? And I said, man, you got to play the show music. And what that means to me also is that you're not using your fingers. So whenever I play a paradiddle, I'm using those back fingers a little bit to support that double. So the more that they can practice their show music or any of these skill sets, engaging those guys and keeping them on, that's also going to help them stop the stick down the road. But that's a big thing that we are struggling with for sure, is getting students to stop the stick. And if they can't do it on the paradiddle, there's no way they're going to do it on the tap roll stuff. And that's the big thing we're kind of working on, is getting that skill set. Again, I think it's the hardest thing to teach, is stopping the stick and re-articulating a double or a diddle. The hope, and I got some questions coming up, which is awesome. The hope is, and we call this the Mr. Miyagi approach, is that by doing these skill sets, when we really start digging into the music, we do those afternoon sessions, we've talked about every single skill set they're going to see in the show. And most high school groups have a combination of rolls, paradiddles, paradiddle diddles, double paradiddles, things like that, and maybe some Flam vocabulary. And if you've gone through that week, you can talk about the technique of each one. So the idea with that Mr. Miyagi idea is, yes, we're teaching you the downstroke. Yes, we're teaching the upstroke, how to wax the car, how to paint the fence. But what we're really trying to teach you is how to play measures 17 through 21 in your show that's got paradiddle figures in it. You know what I mean? Or blocking the kick, blocking the punch, however you want to put it. So that's kind of how our approach is. We're doing the Mr. Miyagi a little bit. So when we get to that show music, we can say wax the car, aka paradiddle breakdown, how that feels. And the student knows how to do it and can play it clean already. If you clean the exercises and clean the technique, the show music will take care of itself. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but you got to do that. And you got to have a great fundamental program, or else your music's not going to get that much better. If all you're doing all day is going to band camp on Monday, so we're going to work the opener all morning, and you're not doing the skill set breakdowns, your music's only going to get so good. And that's really, really crucial. Let's see. I got a few questions real quick that I saw from Zach. Thanks for doing this. How do you maintain a high standard expectation with the students when the show beats include concepts that you haven't covered? And man, Zach, that's a fantastic question, because I'm running into that right now, and I'm just trying to be patient. You know, I think what you're trying to do, and something about 8 on a hand to me, you know, when I see really, really, really great bands play, and I watch them warm up, man, they just nail concert F and they work on concert F and they get that sound correct. So for me, I work on 8 on a hand in the beginning, and that's the concept, that's the sound, that's our clarity, that's our barometer for clarity. How good can we play at 8s? I use that as a reference in terms of expectation and standards. I can't expect the student to be able to come in and play 4 flam drags at 144 at the same level they're going to be able to play at 8s. So I, as a teacher, and it's not easy, trust me, have to be okay with some stuff being a little bit grayer, knowing that the more I rep that exercise program and the more I work those flam vocabulary, flam accent breakdown, add things onto mission, and I hit all those skill sets, I have to trust that that's going to improve that section. But I still use legatos and things like that, like our 8 on a hand exercise, to reference our expectation. So when we work through, like Monday, things are going to be dirty. But Tuesday, man, 8s should be really, really good and be really, really clean. Accent tap on Tuesday, probably not. But Wednesday, once I've broken it down and spent 3 or 4 hours on it, that's where the standard expectations come in. I think it's really important as a teacher that you don't go in barking at the kids unless you've heard them play at a really high level already. And if you've gotten to play 8s really, really well, and then Wednesday it's kind of lagging a little bit, doesn't sound very good, I think at that point you can put your foot down and say, you're not reaching the expectation. I've heard you play this better. You set the bar on Tuesday when you played this way better than the way you're playing it right now. Step it up. Let's go. That's how I try and do that. So it's hard as a teacher not to walk away being like, man, we can't play our opener very well. We sound terrible on measure 25 through 31. But then I have to remind myself, well, that's got some fast triplet rolls we haven't done a whole lot of. It's going to get there. We're going to build those tempos into that. I've got to be patient. I've got to make sure the students understand that as well. Cool. So hopefully that makes sense. That was a great question, Zach. Hope that helps out. What is your process in having students memorize music? For me, and maybe it's just our students, first things first, crucial to get in the music early. And I think it's something people don't think about. If I was just going to say this, maybe this is terrible. If your designer is getting you stuff super late or you're not getting music in the kids' hands, that might not be the best designer for you. And that's terrible to say. But it's hard to have an expectation, like Zach just asked about, of students learning music and being prepared when they're getting it and they're sight reading it. So first of all, you have to get it to them early. We usually at least have an opener, second movement, usually the ballad by the time they leave school. So as a design team, or if you're doing it, you've got to make sure you're doing the work early on so you can hand that out to them. In terms of memorizing music, we do a lot of work. I try and play so much during the day that it just naturally gets memorized. That's kind of our goal. That's kind of what we do. We did the opener today. We turned the music stand around. I've definitely done the games of like, here we go, guys, 4 bars. Look at it. Now turn it around. Oh, look at it again. What did you miss? And doing that. So I've definitely done sessions before where I've done the memorization game a little bit. But for us right now, it's been a lot more about getting them the repetition so that it kind of naturally comes into their hands. I think it's all about building that muscle memory early on. So the more reps you can give, I think the better the memorization is going to be. But that's always tough to do, especially in younger programs. I've had that happen several times. I think I've got all the questions that are on there. I'm going to keep cranking on a few last minute things. Just some other things to consider that I want to think about. I want you to think about. And this is fresh on my mind because we just went through this. the learning environment you have is crucial. I'm not talking about the environment you're creating with your mood and like that. I'm talking about the actual room itself. Do your best. I mean, I taught at schools where I got there, and the first thing we did was that they told me the drums rehearse outside all day long. And I did that for the first year, and then down the road, I changed that. Because I just noticed by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, even if we're in the shade, those 14, 15-year-olds are not paying attention to what I'm saying. They're not getting the information. They're hot, they're tired, they're dehydrated, and the environment itself is not conducive for them to learn. So it's super important you give them a good environment. We had some AC issues with Vandergrift yesterday. We survived the day. We had tons of fans. But then we kind of went into that evening being like, we got to find a new solution. And that's what we did. So going into today, we had AC. And I noticed an immediate difference in terms of the rehearsal that I had with the students. I was better as a teacher. I was more refreshed. The students were more receptive to information. So that's crucial. The environment that you have, this is personal experience for this past week. The environment that you create is crucial in setting the students up to make sure they can learn. And give them enough water. When you become dehydrated, your brain shuts down. You're not going to receive information the same way. So being smart, taking care of your students so they can continue to learn. Make sure your students have good sticks. Take the time. If you get the order in, make sure your students have good stuff. They're not going to hear what a good sound sounds like if they're playing with broken sticks. I know it sounds like a no-brainer, but I feel like I've gone into many a band room and had a person play down the line, and what I hear like one stick's broken, one stick's not. They're not hearing good sounds in their ears because the sticks aren't correct. So make sure you're giving them good equipment so they can hear the correct sounds. That's huge. Use a metronome early and often, and don't be afraid to go super slow. Gauge the room. If you're working on high accent to low double and no one's getting the concept, it's not their fault, it's your fault. And say that, you're going too fast. Okay, and if the center snare is the only one getting it, then you're still going too fast. Try and teach those outside students. I saw a great post today on Facebook. Someone said, like, try and teach your snare line from the in snare drummer, the in quad drummer, the bottom bass drummer, whatever. But change your perspective. Don't just stare at the center guys who are going to get the concepts, who are the better players. Teach to the level of the outside people. That means going super slow. Go super slow. Last thing before I saw the next question, be aware of your pacing. And this is huge. You're giving them a lot of information. Make sure they're playing a ton. But if you need to give information, have some jokes ready. And I'm not saying be cheesy. Have some analogies ready. You've got to keep them engaged somehow. If you're just talking to them, even like right now in this setting, I always feel bad doing these kind of online things. I feel like I'm just talking at you, and it's not interactive. I can't see your faces. I can't see if you're smiling, if you're frowning, if you're crying, if you're interested, if you're bored. But have jokes, have kind of things that you can talk about. Even silly questions, favorite movie. What did you listen to on the way to school today? What did you have for breakfast? Just getting them engaged, keeping them coming back, keeping a dialogue between you and the student. But you can't just give them information all day on how to play drums. Because they shut down. And it's human nature. This is what it is. We've all been, if you're teaching in a school, you've all been in professional development at some point where they just information dump and you just get overloaded. And within 5 minutes, you're checking out. And kids are the same way. So try and make it fun. Jokes, analogies, anything you can do to keep them engaged and coming back and forth with you. Going to answer a question, and I'm going to try and wrap it up because we're about almost getting to an hour. I know we had a long introduction, but we're almost getting to an hour. What's your process when teaching music? Slow and steady wins the race on the tempo stuff. For example, our opener this year is 116. Day one, we took it around 80. And it was a beat at a time, and it was defining heights. I use a height system. Some people use just the dynamics, but we go one beat at a time. Something I've also done in the past, we did this year, especially with our opener, we had a younger group, is I wrote out the checks for the entire show. When I say checks, I mean taking the rolls out. If it's a single, making it one hand only. If it's a paradiddle, making it the right accent, right tap. Wrote out all the checks, with the idea being that we would learn music and we would go the check first and then add in the ornamentation, whether that's a flam, a drag, a paradiddle, things like that, but going super slow. And what I'm checking for when I'm doing that super slow process is, are they applying the skill sets from the morning? That's the biggest thing. So when I see a paradiddle, if I don't see a stop stick, and then the accent, we stop, we got to redefine that. But I have to go as slow as I need to go so that I'm seeing the skill sets from the morning being applied to the afternoon. I know it's not super tedious, but you'd be surprised how much you can still get done even going that pace. For instance, like I said, I think we did 20 measures on Monday, and it took us about 2 hours. With some of you might be like, that's a long time. Some are like, wow, that's really fast. But that's kind of what we did. Like I said, it took us about a week to get through all that stuff. But that's kind of our process, beat to beat. Today we actually learned a phrase that was very paradiddle based and very rudiment based, meaning like there's a lot of paradiddles and some tap fives and this double accent paradiddles. And we just went rudiment to rudiment. We just built it that way. So the lick was very similar to that kind of vocabulary. So we would go, give me one paradiddle. Did you stop the stick? Nope, do it again. That's correct. I saw you stop the stick. Great technique. Keep those fingers on. Add a paradiddle. Nope, left hand sounds softer. Again, going and teaching it to it in terms of skill sets versus necessarily the rhythms of that kind of stuff. And then moving our way through it. And that worked out really well for us today. And once you get through your exercise program that first week, the idea is hopefully your exercise program mirrors your show music stuff. And then you've tailored your exercise program to match some of the stuff in the show. You can go that way, and the kids start to kind of go faster because they recognize, oh, that's just Flam accents. I don't know how to play Flam accents. I played Mission last Friday. Or that's just the tap roll. I worked on tap rolls on Tuesday last week. I know what that feels like. I know what that technique should be. And that's what you're going for because that's going to allow you to move faster down the road. But that's why that first week in the scheduling is so, so crucial. So hopefully that answers your question, Gilbert. Jay, another question. Students arrive at high school with bad grip habits. How to break them? One-on-one sessions or improvising correct ways in group, say in front of a mirror. Yes, Jay, and that actually reminds me. We're talking about the learning environment. If you've got mirrors, use them. And that's the dilemma that we were in. Our AC was out in our drum room, which has mirrors, which I want the snare line and the quality in there as much as possible. But the AC was out. It was like, you got to weigh it. Do we sweat and be miserable, or do we use the mirrors? In terms of hand stuff, I think that's where that first day comes in. You're really working on, if you're just playing a whole note, that's when you can really kind of focus in on what the student's hands look like and try to fix those things. I usually will do two things with tape on the drum itself, particularly for snare drums. And that's I put a dot, like a white piece of tape in the center of the head. Once again, that way they can see where their beat should be. And a lot of times I'll tape the stick angle where I want it to be. We'll also use lugs as a reference. The lugs on the drums itself, so they kind of know where to go. Same thing for quads. Quads will go through their zones. But kind of going through that. For bass drums, I've used a couple things in the past. I'm not using anything particular this year. I've seen bungees used several times where you take just one bungee, come across through the other bungee, kind of where their playing zones would be, to try and get them used. Because it's hard for bass drums to see sometimes kind of where they're striking the head. Having that bungee, as annoying as it can be, can kind of help out with that. But giving them references, like hardcore references, where your thumb should be, where the fingers should be, how the hand should be turned, giving them references, and then to see that. And then again, those lugs, tape, anything visual. I'm a visual learner, so that's kind of how I try to teach a lot of times, is giving them things they can see. So when you walk up and they've got their angles all jacked up, or one hand's way far back, you look down at angles, they can see the white tape on the head, or they can see the lugs, they can realize that their hand's coming in this way or going out that way, and giving them, they immediately fix it. And then it's just staying on them, as bad as it sounds. And like, it's even to give them one of these guys, like, and then usually by day 2 or 3, they look down and they fix it and they know the tendency. And then reminding them too that, I always think of the Malcolm Gladwell stuff. There's a fly in front of the camera. I always think of the Malcolm Gladwell stuff, the 10,000 hours. To really master a skill set, it takes 10,000 hours, according to Malcolm Gladwell. And they got to understand that you've been doing this for 5 minutes. So even by the end of band camp, you're on like hour 24 of 10,000. So they've got to be actively engaged and kind of creating their own checklists as they go. But that's kind of how I try to do that, Jay, is giving them as many references as I can, whether it's angles, lugs, using stick tape, things like that, bungee cords on the bass drums, whatever I can do, using those mirrors, but giving as much visual feedback as I possibly can. I'll do this a lot too, which is always great. iPhone, just using the slow motion part of your phone. So we're doing that like Downstroke, that upstroke in the beginning. I always try and get a few videos of everyone doing it, and also the full line, so students can actually see, oh man, my velocity is not as fast as that guy's, therefore my stick is coming up later, therefore meaning I'm probably playing dirty, I'm not playing the same rhythm. and letting the students see that. I've had a lot of students kind of see that video and kind of their eyes open up like, oh, you're right. My velocity is not the same, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we try and do that, Jay, is just give them as much individual feedback as we can and also just stay on them. Cool. We are right about 8 o'clock. Sorry, Go, I can't hear you again.
I don't see any more questions on the feed. Guys, if you have any more questions, please let them be shown. And I will make sure that I put them on the screen for him. I did have a question myself, Joe. That concept of putting bungee ropes on the bass drums. Could you give us some insight on that?
Yeah, I've used it a couple years. I haven't used it recently. You just take some bungee cords and you hook it to the lug. And what you're doing is you're trying to create, it's weird on this camera angle, you're trying to create like this kind of a space, enough for the bass drum mount to come out and come in. And also be low enough so that they do the rotation, they're not going to run into the cord. But what it allows the kid to feel, they can be kind of annoying sometimes, and it's fine to stop doing it because I see kids get really frustrated, is it'll allow them to actually know, oh, I'm hitting it right in the center. So you're just making those bungee cords guide again. You're just hooking them on across so the student can kind of feel, I hit the cord, oh, I must be too low or too high, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the idea. Again, just trying to give them a better reference. A lot of times the bass drums don't get mirror time, but gives them an idea, once again, am I hitting in the center? Because I think for bass drums especially, that's crucial. Something we did talk about today actually with students a lot too is having them memorize too where the forearm is and compared to the hoop once they're in the center. You know, you're talking about a bass 5 or a bass 4, they're going to have to be farther extended to get the actual amount in the center of the head. So talking to our bottom bass drum today, I was like, hey man, let's figure out where it is. And for him, it was roughly about right here behind his watch was where his forearm had to be for his mallet to be in the center of the head. So once again, trying to get this, when we talk about the snare drums or the quads with zones or with those lug angles, trying to give the bass drums just more reference. So the bungee cord thing, that's like I said, that's another way to do it. Just strapping them across. So the kid, when he hits the cord, he knows he hits the cord, hit the cord, and that kind of gives him instant feedback on, I'm not playing the center of the head. So hopefully that helped, Gilbert. Cool. And the J, we do tip off forbidden zones, good bass ideas on videos and rotation. Thanks, no problem. And like I said, guys, it's always tough doing these, trying to get all the information out there. So my email is on the Vandergrift High School band website. So if you're hearing something, and I know I went quick, and you're like, hey, I don't fully understand what you meant when you said this. Can you elaborate? Please feel free to reach out. It might take me a day or two. I know we're all in the same boat. Things are crazy right now. We all teach pretty much straight through the day. But I'm super happy to answer any questions or kind of reach out, any way that I can. I love to teach, and I love teachers, and I want to help teachers out as much as I possibly can. So anything I do to help you with your program, happy to do that.
I think that what you covered and how you covered it was adequate for the topic, because your topic was how to have a successful band camp, and it wasn't much about technique, but I guess we got lucky or fortunate that you actually went into some of those techniques, and it'll give us a glimpse of, okay, maybe I do need to ask him something on this or on the other. But I think as far as the scope, I think you did a great job of how to sequence, how to introduce them, how to tie them in. It was an eye-opener for me on a lot of things, Joe, a lot of things. So very, very informational for sure.
Good to hear. Like I said, it's tough. I think the biggest thing, if I could, any parting comments I would say is just make sure they understand the skill set, and then try and, like I said, once you get into that second or third week of band camp, the students should be recognizing the music, the patterns you taught in week 1. Paradiddle, rolls. And once they make that connection as a player, they're going to learn it faster. The clarity is going to be there because they've already played it clean in the exercise form. And you should be able to move very, very quickly and have a pretty high level of excellence by the last week. So
nice. Well, Joe, thank you so much. You have been in our event, in the live in-person events in the past, I think once. Am I correct, Joe?
Yeah, I want to. It's 2018.
Yes.
2018. I can't remember.
I believe so. And you're an amazing clinician, very knowledgeable. A lot of the comments that I got back then, Joe, was like you just about, every minute of your clinic had something, juicy to learn from. So it was dense, and the same thing today, man. You always nail it out of the ballpark. I think you have a comment here.
Saying good to go slow, and I can't stress enough to guys, like, don't show tempo is whatever. Your first show is late September. Take your time. You know what I mean? Slow and steady wins the race, and I gotta tell myself that every day. I leave the drum room, but I'm talking to my staff. I'm like, we're gonna be fine. I gotta maintain. You know what I mean? We're gonna be good. The kids, as long as the kids are working hard, you're doing great. And that's the thing. If you feel like the effort is there, man, they're gonna stop the stick eventually. They're gonna get the Flam vocabulary, but if the effort is there, they're gonna keep going. Hang in there. Keep fighting the good fight. It's gonna get there.
I remember one time Tyler Dempsey told me he invites Ralph Hardiman over to his kids. And then he goes, it's funny because Ralph Hardiman will just tell them, that's stick height. That's it. And the kid will fix it. And then he turns around and goes, really? First of all, is that all you're going to tell him? And second of all, how come you didn't do that when I'm there? A lot of the time, and where I'm getting at is, just hearing it over and over and over again, the kid will be experimenting and trying, going all through all the information that you've given them, and they'll eventually get it. You're repeating it so much that they get the point. It's important. Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point. And Gilbert reminded me of this to say is you got to follow up too. I've seen a lot of teachers do this where they'll make the comment, and the comment they make to the kid is correct. You're not stopping the stick on the paradiddle. I know I keep saying that because that's my go-to right now. That's my thing with my kids. But they don't stop the stick on the paradiddle, and then the next rep they don't watch the kid do it again. I think it's almost as important the follow-up as it is recognizing the issue. So if you see the kid make the mistake, then you got to keep watching that kid the second rep, the third rep, the fourth rep, and when they get it, that's when you got to make sure you say that was right, that was your best rep, exactly that. You have to do it every single time. So I think. You just reminded me of that. I think some younger teachers don't always do that. They make the comment and the comment's correct, but the follow-up is almost as important as giving them the comment to begin with.
Yeah, so. I remember a very good teacher friend of mine when I first started teaching. He goes, "You got to repeat things 1,000 times, so that the kid can start to kind of do it right." Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to take. I have a couple of freshman snare drummers, and God bless them, they're working so hard, and I know they are. But it's going to take them time. And again, making the comment, and then when they do it right, I think that's the most important. When they do it right is being like, girl, you got it. That was fantastic. That's exactly right. You have to do that. And then they get the confidence and they kind of start thinking about it. But absolutely, hang in there, teachers. And it's going to be a year for all of us. We've got freshmen and sophomores that have never really done a normal season, and it's going to be tough. And our patience is going to be tried. But hang in there, because we talked about the drum corps earlier, going into Bluecoats. I missed it. The kids miss it. We all miss it. Hang in there. Just make sure that you don't get too stressed out, and try to keep it a positive experience.
Yes.
For the students. And it's hard to do in the incredibly competitive areas that we are. You kind of get distracted by all the stuff, but just trust your process. Yeah. Keep busting your butt. Keep complimenting the kids. Keep calling them out too. But keep working hard, and it's going to get there.
Joe, one quick question about you. Are there any services that you offer that they can hire you? Clinics, virtual clinics, in-person clinics. I mean, books, writing books.
Yeah, I do several clinics throughout the year. Always happy to consult. Go through a ton of writing right now in terms of like marching band music. Just the time. My band program is just it is more than a full-time gig. Doubling that with the drum corps stuff, and I have a family. I've got a young daughter who's just over 4 years old. So I try and she's in bed right now. Hopefully I'm not too loud and she's still sleeping. But so Ken's gonna be, but in terms of clinics, things like that, I definitely do several of those throughout the year. Any consulting, happy to do that. I do a book. I don't think it's too early to announce it's coming out. Like a fundamental beginner book. Not like beginner, but like a beginner snare drum book. And the idea of the book is teaching kids how to read check patterns. And it's also kind of the idea of that. And then also each solo's got 3 different tiers to it. I mean, there's like a bronze, a silver, and a gold. So if you're teaching a snare drum class and you've got all-star snare drummer and then someone who can't play snare drum very well, they can work on the same solo at the same time. So that'll be coming out. That'll be through Tap Space Percussion. That's, I think, about a year out if I had to guess.
Okay.
But that'll be coming out too. So hopefully that'll be. I'm excited about it. I've been working on that for about 2 years, and it finally got done during the COVID time. And submitted it, but that'll be coming out next year or so as well through Tap Space.
Yeah, that got me very excited, sir. I can't wait to see that. Beautiful, beautiful.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'm sure you enjoyed today's clinic. Master educator, clinician. Hire him, guys. Go to him. It's very well invested time. I've seen him many times. I know some of you have too. For those of you that have not, trust me, you want to have this gentleman in front of your students. You want to have his concepts in front of your students, and your programs will grow, will get better, will be more successful. Joe, brother, thank you so much for accepting to be here. It's a huge honor, sir. Huge honor. This is your house. If you ever need anything, if you want to stream anything, if you want to share anything, on your book release, we can do a book release here. Anything that you may need, sir, I'm giving you our answer is yes. Just tell us what and when.
Well, everything calms down. I know. Right now, it's just get some sleep so I can function tomorrow for
yes.
I can practice what I preach, and I can go
yes.
and be a positive teacher and get the work done.
Awesome. Well, Joe, have a restful night. Guys, it was beautiful being here with all of you. And we will see you on Saturday. Pat Petrella. We also have coming soon, guys, Bruce Becker. And a lot of other neat surprises that are in store. I can't share them yet because they haven't crystallized, but a lot of them, and they're going to be nice and juicy. And trust me, you don't want to miss them. Like, follow Valley Percussion Festival page and on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to the G Drums YouTube channel. G Drums YouTube channel. That's the official channel for the Valley Percussion Festival. Guys, have a beautiful week. Joe, have an amazing season, sir.
Thanks. You too, guys. Great to see you all. Thank you guys so much for being here.